Welcome to Design Basics, Coil Feature Part 2, Thread Design. In this video, we're going to discuss how we're going to make a thread, just the external thread. If there's interest for an internal thread, I'll probably make that in the next video, but it's going to be the same principles, just different dimensions. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually go to a website to kind of decipher how to get information to build your threads. So here we are on eFunda, Engineering Fundamentals. I will have a link in the description, but essentially this is one of my main go-tos, especially for thread information. So we're going to scroll down, and I've chosen the 5/8 to 7/8 information. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to design a 5/8-11 UNC thread. So here we're going to look at the chart. Now it does look scary, but I'm actually going to highlight what we're going to look at and how this is going to get done. So I typically would use a 2A thread for external, and then a 2B for the internal. So you can see here we have external and internal. So there's a lot of information here that looks a little bit scary, but essentially what we're looking at is a couple different pieces of information. We have the major diameter, a max and min. We have a pitch, max and min, and then we have a minor diameter. So with these three pieces of information, we can actually make a proper thread, both male and female. In this video, we're just going to do the male thread, but it's the same principles, except you're going to be using the red information for your internal thread. So here we would look at the two maximum and minimum major diameters, and what I would usually do is when I put this into my sketch, I actually just add them both together and divide by 2, because then I get the mean of both. I don't typically use the pitch diameter. It's a good reference point, but when you're designing a thread for 3D printing, you don't have to really worry about it too much, at least in my experience. And then the last one is the minor diameter. So that's going to be the lower end of the thread. So let's actually go back to the software and show how we can decipher that information as we go. So here you can see I am starting off my sketch. Now I'm going to first pull that first piece of information from that chart, which is the minor diameter, and that was 0.5152. Now that we have that done, I can click OK, and my diameter is now the minor diameter of the thread. Next, we're going to make a sketch, and we're going to start building the thread itself. So I started something off a little bit here, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two pieces of this thread, and there's a reason why I have to do that, and we'll explain that right away here. So the reason is when we looked at that thread size, it said 11 UNC. So that 11 means there's going to be 11 threads per inch of it being revolved around that piece. So what we're going to essentially do is figure out how to make the size of this by using that information. So the first thing we always do is we make these 60 degrees, because that thread is always 60 degrees. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the diameter. So the thread size is going to be brackets 0.6234 plus 0.6133, close bracket, divided by 2. And that takes the average of the two pieces that of information we had, which is the max and min major diameter. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually make this line in line with this line here, as that is the minor diameter. After that, we have to make these two lines equal to each other. And then we just have to line these up. So now that we have some of this stuff started, we're going to just make sure there's one more piece of information here. Let's just make sure that this is in line with this. Okay. And we have to make sure these are in line. So now that we have all this information kind of started, now we need to figure out how to make the pitch. So the pitch will be 11 UNC, and essentially that means there's 11 threads per inch. And how we do that is we're going to actually dimension from peak to peak, because that is one pitch, and you go 1/11, because it's supposed to be 1/11 away. Now that we have that figured out, the next piece of information we're going to do is we're going to dimension from here to here, and we're going to do the exact same dimension. So I'm just going to actually click it, and now they are the same distance away. The last piece of information we're going to use is we're going to actually dimension this flat here. So typically what the flat is it's the pitch divided by 4. Now we have the width of this tooth. So with all that information, what we can do now is essentially close up this one piece here. So it makes one full tooth. And what I like to typically do is make it so that it is in line with the bottom. And now I can do the sweep feature. Or the coil feature, sorry. So I have the tooth detail. I now need to choose the axis point, which is right here. And now we can go to coil size. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to actually use pitch and height. So I know the pitch is 1/11, and I want to make sure it's 2 inches in height. No taper, that's all we're going to do. So now we have a thread started on here. I don't really like that quite yet because it doesn't go all the way to the top. So we're going to actually edit the feature, and we're going to actually make it go an extra 1/8 of an inch. So now that it passes the top of the thread, what we can do is we're going to actually now clean up the top and bottom. So you're going to make a sketch on the top here. It doesn't matter what the dimensions are as long as it's going to consume all the pieces that are above. We're going to delete, reverse it so it deletes the thread, and now you have a thread top. The other thing you have to do really quickly is the same thing on the bottom. And now we have a threaded rod basically that is to the proper dimensions of an external thread for a 5/8-11 UNC thread. So that's how you do an external thread. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, this is Tyler with 3D Printer Store, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.